We ready. Hey, we ready. Come on. We ready for Zach. Schmancy. This is that the Ivy special. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
This is that good stuff. Mushroom chocolate.
Get the mind right.
And the body.
Get the mind right, you get the soul right, right?
Right. Or some, vice versa, both. I don't know. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the LIT podcast. That is Lifestyle Integrated Therapy, which is everything that you need to improve your brain health, lifestyle, and performance today. And for today's guest, we have a good friend of mine, a legend in Oklahoma City for sure, Zach McBride.
Hey, everybody. Hey.
Yeah, tell us what you do, man.
I'm a personal trainer, fitness coach, nutrition coach.
The personal trainer, y'all.
The personal trainer. Been doing it for about 10 years. Fell into this job kind of through some really rough times in my life, and it's just been life-changing for me to help people, help myself on the same journey, and build from there. But 10 years in the business, been doing it, love it.
You're a big guy.
I didn't start this way.
I like whenever I see a big long-haired guy, I'm like, I saw those before pictures of you, dude. I was like, dude, we both had that in common, the skinny fat redneck.
Yeah,
but I guess you're
definitely. It was like kind of.
You're from the city, though.
Yeah,
like my brother, but if I would have grown up in the city,
exactly.
It's kind of funny.
Same person, just two different environments. Different environments molded it.
It's funny to watch what would happen, you know.
Yeah.
So you grew up in middle of Oklahoma City?
Oklahoma City, northwest side of Oklahoma City. Middle school, went to Taft, right down the street on May. Ended up getting kicked out of that school. Friends I was hanging out with. Started my career.
What'd you do?
Selling weed.
In middle school?
Yeah,
dude,
6th grade.
God dang.
Started at like 13.
Pushing, bro.
Yeah, and got kicked out of there. Sent to a military-style school called the About Face. It was an alternative school. Man, I excelled well in a structured environment.
Crazy how that works.
It was great. I actually liked it a lot. Probably would have stayed in the alternative school if they would have had sports. But I really liked basketball, and I wanted to get back to that. And then, after that, sports kept me on the straight and narrow for a while, and then until I got, around the wrong people again and just started hustling again. That was like high school. Played basketball all through high school, ended up still selling weed in high school. Had some scholarships, got in trouble in school for selling weed, lost all those scholarships.
Were you just a bad weed dealer? Were you just like not low key about it?
I just did a lot. I did it on a large scale, so your numbers go up.
Right.
The more people, the more faces, the more cases you get. So,
being the plug, bro.
Game,
being the plug, man. It's gonna catch up to you, but it is a fun job.
Definitely. After high school, completely went into, off the deep end. After I lost my scholarships, I just went into full-time grinding, but not on a positive note, just selling weed. Always had a job, but just was...
This was during the day when weed was not
legal.
This was not. No, Oklahoma, this was probably like 15 years ago? Yeah,
this was 2009 to 2000 I started in middle school, which was a lot longer than that. That was like 2002. So from about 2002
weed
to
was
about,
not casual. Weed was like not
Oklahoma
cool back
was
then.
serious.
It was abusive, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got caught with that. It was like a big deal. Like you couldn't even get that where I was from.
Yeah.
Like in Blanchard, it didn't even come that far out. Like it was a big deal if you had.
Well, they threw double-digit numbers at you, and they're throwing football numbers at you for possession with intent.
That's crazy for selling.
My first offer was 20 years, bro. 20 years. That talk about something that makes your stomach drop, and you immediately need to go take a shit.
Damn. 20 years.
Yeah, man. It's just, they said.
What should they give you, though?
I ended up getting 15, and it was split.
What?
Yeah. 7 in.
Something that you can pick up at every other store now.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma.
But, that's what people say is when I tell them I got incarcerated for selling weed. And it's legal now. And I lean back into the fact that it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm.
Because, like I said, I grew up doing those things and hanging around those same people, and I would have never been able to change my life without something so forcefully pulling me out of that environment I was in, separating me from the people that I called my friends and that I was hanging around. I wouldn't have been able, I don't think I would have been strong enough to do that on my own.
No, yeah, it's hard, man.
So, you know, everybody's like, oh, that sucks. You got locked up for something that's now legal. And I lean into it. No, it's actually the best thing that ever happened to me. At the time, I thought my life was fucking over. You know, I sold weed for about 10 years at the time, from like 13, 14 to about 24 when I got incarcerated. And at that time, you know, you think your life's over.
Yeah. Yeah, 24.
I had 7 years of that sentence had to be in. 7 in, and it was 5 out, so a 12-year sentence, not a 15.
You did 7 in the
potentially. So it's nonviolent. So if it's nonviolent, you can get out with good boy time, and you know you stay out of trouble. You can do 30% of that. So I had 7 in. I did 30% of that, and it was like just around 3 years.
Yeah, like college. It's like college tour.
Yeah.
You know, instead of going to play on scholarship, going to
I
prison.
win a state paid vacation.
Right.
But learned a lot, man. It forced me to sit down, forced me to think. And that's actually where I fell in love with fitness. You know, that's when I actually picked up a book and started reading. And I believe that's where my self-growth journey really began. Because, you know, I was so blinded and just, you know, confused at what I thought life should be like.
Yeah.
You know?
And did you have like a role model growing up?
Not a strong role model in front of me. No, you know, my dad was a hardworking man, and he wasn't a bad father, but he was just not there.
Yeah.
You know, he was married to my mom. He was at the house, but he was at work. He put himself through night school, so he just wasn't the presence that I feel like young men need in their life. You know, you got to be a dominating president,
right? Especially if you're going to be in the city like that too. Like, I mean, and if you're a big wild boy,
getting into some dumb shit,
right?
You need somebody that's going to be more forceful than you are, you know.
Yeah, that's what saved us.
Yeah.
Is like, you know, I have 7 brothers, and we were all, like I said, we're the same in terms of our like psychology. Like we think acting the same, we're doing the same.
That's why everybody like, are y'all brothers?
right. Like, kind of, man.
Soul brothers.
Wouldn't be related. Yeah, I would not be surprised. We're related somehow.
Yeah.
But anyways, my dad was formidable. My dad, I was scared of nobody. Except for except my older brothers and my dad.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just me. That was all my friends. They're like, dude, Jeff is scary, dude. Jeff is a old school, man.
No games played.
Well, no, I think he saw that growing up because, you know, he didn't really have a dad, so he was just up to all kinds of, you know, heinous behavior as a young man too. Him and his brothers were just destroying stuff, and down there in, you know, small town, living on the outskirts of Texoma, and then they grew up on the reservation, Chickasaw and Choctaws, and then kind of came off there. So he saw what happened to those people at a young age, and they whooped ass. Like he was not afraid to take his belt off and demonstrate authority.
Sometimes, man, those hard heads need a.
He knew that, because here's the thing.
Speaking from experience,
I know, and I'm not even mad, because some people are like, oh no, you got hit, you know, you got smacked, and I'm not like upset about it at all, because I promise you that we deserved it. And when you have 8-10 kids running around, you don't have time to just stop and like, here's a lecture. Okay, here's how you do this. Like, no, you gotta go.
Gotta get their attention.
Right. So that
think about it.
That masculine force was like, you know, that it kept us in the rails at least long enough for our brains to develop where we could start making our own decisions.
Smart decisions on that.
Yeah. It sounds like that's not, you didn't really get that though, huh?
No. He instilled a very good work ethic.
Yeah, you work your ass off. I can appreciate that.
And I mean, so, you know, there wasn't anything given in the house. He'd make you work for whatever you got. And so truly respect him for that. I appreciate him. I respect him as a man now. He just was very busy. He didn't have the time that he needed to dedicate to me, which I needed to keep me in order. So the people that were guiding me were the people in the streets that I was hanging around.
Yeah.
I was hanging around older people, and those older people don't give a shit about the younger ones. They're actually
they're using you to push drugs. Yeah.
And, you know, and they're using you to what they can get, what they can do, get out of you. You know what I mean? And
you didn't have any siblings, so that particular or like a strong family structures that particularly set you up to be at the mercy of your community.
There's also no religion in the house either.
Oh no,
no church at all. The only church experience I had as a child were when I was with, you know, my friends. They all happened to be black, so I was going to black churches, which I loved it. You know, the energy.
It's to be great, bro.
The energy was great there, you know, but that was my only experience in that. And so there was no
absolute godlessness.
With no guidance
and no morals.
It sent me down a rough road. And, you know, but one thing that you posted and you sent to me that resonated hit really hard with me was, you know, I would never be the person I am today without the shit that I dealt with growing up. You know, it has molded me, and I'm a firm believer in the more struggles that you occur in life, the stronger the person you will be.
Big facts.
And it's just like when you train the muscles, right? It's stress on the muscles, right? And then when your life's put through stressful situations and you overcome that, guess what? You become stronger.
Amen, brother.
And you're able to handle that stress a little bit better. So the next time that same stressful situation comes around, you're like, oh, I got this. It's just like the first time you hit 225 on the bench, you're like, oh, my God.
You sure?
And then next thing you know, you're hitting sets of it, you know, and it's the body is a beautiful thing, man. We adapt and overcome.
You still got some of that black gospel in you, man. You're preaching the good news right now.
I can't help it, man. This is just me.
That's the good stuff, though, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So just like with like a muscle fiber, man, like stressing it, putting it through work, it's ripping, it's tearing, it's on fire, it's doing more than it's capable of handling. It feels like it wants to die, but it doesn't. And then it's like, hey, when it catches a break, it's like, we got to put the pieces back together.
Bring it back. Let's try this again.
We got to put the pieces together, man. We're going through this again. Yeah. And I tell this to my patients. I use the exact same metaphors and references of like, hey, man, life is like the squat rack, or it's like the gym. Like, if you fear the squat rack, if you're afraid of the gym, if you're afraid of weights, it's going to be horrible for you. It'll be miserable. And I don't know if you've ever been put through a workout that you did not want to go through.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's abuse.
Yeah.
It's abuse. Yeah. So of course, then that traumatizes you to where you're afraid of it, right? And the same. And I used to do this to people all the time back in the day, where they would come work out with me, and I was like, oh, you fucked up. Yeah, I was like, you would come work out with the big dogs, and it would just be 2 hours just of misery, and then I would never see this person again. They'd never come back. And I was like, what's wrong? What happened? And I was like confused. And then later in my life,
I took a week to walk right again, Ben.
Yeah, my buddy, he was a server. He goes, dude, I dropped a bunch of drinks at my job because we banged arms, and he goes, my arms were cramping. I
T-Rex arms.
Right. Yeah, he was carrying like the plate of like food and drinks, and he said he dropped it at his work. And I'm out here like
traumatized.
Yeah, ruining people's careers. But yeah, you don't want to do that. The same thing is true with like any kind of therapy or talking about people's traumas or anything. You have to go in it at their tolerable level. And to make that enjoyable to them, to where it feels like they can actually overcome it. And then you slowly progressive overload, bro.
Yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, you don't have to go from, especially guys that I train, they just so gung ho with shit. I'm like, we don't have to go from lifting 100 pounds to lifting 150. You just got to break that ice. You just got to tiptoe on your boundaries, right? You got to tiptoe on your boundaries, and then just get a couple feet across where you're used to going, just a couple feet more, a little further than where you've ever gone before. You don't have to run a mile past the distance that you're used to going. You just got to run another quarter mile, a tenth of a mile, and then then that allows for the consistency. And then you hit that 10th of a mile again. You hit that 10th of a mile again, instead of going from a mile to 2 miles and your legs are just destroyed and you don't feel like doing that again. You actually will have a bad taste in your mouth about it.
Right. Yeah.
It's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
Instead of having a bunch of little wins, you have this one massive one that kind of subdued you, and you're like, I can't do that shit again. And so.
I was talking to this lady just to kind of, finish this point out was, so she did trauma-informed care for fitness.
Okay.
So like people who have severe trauma. So the issue with people who have that trauma is that generalizes until the rest of their life. So say generalized anxiety disorder. That's different than anxiety in that now that anxiety was once in one place. Now it is generalized until where it is everywhere all of the time. So it's your school, it's your life, it's your relationships, it's your work, it's your sleep, it's nutrition. So it slowly starts taking over everything. Right. It's infectious, dude. If you ever had, right. So trauma is the same way. You get fucked up real bad in one way, and now you're shook. You get shook. You get rocked one really bad time. Now this happened to me in football. I had never really I'd been injured, bro, but I can always just just tape it up. We're gonna be all right. Yeah. I never had a head trauma before. Yeah. So me and Turner Troop, shout out Troop, bro, we just absolutely collided, man. Full speed. I was like, I'm gonna truck him. And he was like, "No, you're
I'm
not."
gonna truck him.
Yeah, that did not work. And because I didn't have my mouthpiece in either, and wow, and I got
jaw click.
I got a concussion right on the top of my head, and I was just rattled, dude, because I've never had experienced it. The thing that is perceiving consciousness that like is organizing all this stuff just goes offline. And all of a sudden, I'm standing there, and I can't tell if I'm in a dream or if I'm in reality. And people are like, "Yo, Morrell, get back in." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, what?"
Where?
And next thing you know, I'm lining back up again, and you just keep going. And afterwards, like I said, my brain was my everything. Like I was trying to become a doctor, so me doing that was above all else.
Yeah.
So I'm putting in like hundreds, thousands of hours in the library. Like I can remember things. Like I'm on top of it. I never kept notes. I never kept like a calendar. I just kept everything in my brain, because I never knew how to do any of that stuff. Nobody taught me organization. Yeah. Like my dad, he's just
they weren't preparing you for medical school.
No.
That wasn't in the book.
Bunch of rednecks. Yeah, a bunch of rednecks, dude. We were
not
just
preparing you to be doctors.
Yeah, nobody kept a
I
calendar.
hope we get a degree.
Yeah, tomorrow.
A high school diploma.
I can't even finish out today, and you're talking about tomorrow? Yeah. Right. Let alone a week from now, a month from now, in a full semester. But I remember that I would I was studying for mammalian physiology. It's one of the hardest classes I've ever taken in my life.
I don't think I could pronounce that.
Me either, bro. I was like, what even is this class? And I remember I would read a page.
Yeah.
And then I would turn it. And I would be like, what? And I would go back and I would read it again and I would turn it. Wait, what did that say? And I did that for like an hour and a half straight. And like the fear that entered into my body of like, what if I can't remember stuff again?
Saying that information.
Like, what if this is like permanent? What if I did this to myself? And it was at that moment where I was like, bro, this shit ain't worth it, bro. Like this is horrific.
You stopped playing football?
Yeah. Well, I finished out the season, but I bailed after that.
There wasn't even that much information on concussions and like everything, all the information that we have about that now. We know about the damage, but that was you evaluating your own experiences before there was ever any like thought about that, let alone the news, the people talking about it. Right.
And there is like post-concussion syndrome. There's like depression and anxiety, and a lot of people have like bipolar episodes. Either they'll go a little bit psychotic. Wow. And yeah, that didn't happen to me, but I definitely had the depression side of things. For sure. I had never experienced that before. Where I was like, it feels like I can't go.
Yeah.
And I have always been able to just go.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, scared the shit out of me to the point in time where like I lost all my confidence, even though I was like big and still doing really good in school and I was set up to play the next year and coaches wanted me there. All the players liked me. I was just like, I just felt like I was nothing. Yeah. I felt like I didn't belong. It didn't deserve to be there. All these weird things. And ultimately that next summer, I was like, man, you're going to have to come to a crossroads with it, because I do think there was a spiritual connection to it in general where it wasn't the path, and that I was hanging around with those football dudes, and they're not doing the things that future doctors
hell no.
should be doing, let alone. No. But anyways, so that one trauma kind of like worked its way out into the rest of my life where I started questioning, can I even be a doctor? I started like looking at maybe I can just be a biologist and go like catch fish.
Trying to downgrade because your confidence is down. You're like, oh, maybe I can't do the next level. Instead of leveling up, you're starting to like bring yourself down. Yeah. Right. So what did you do to fix it? What did you do to work on it?
Nothing. No, I didn't know.
Drove through it.
Yeah. Luckily, I just kept dragging. I had built up enough work ethic and success that it kind of pushed me into medical school. Thankfully, it could carry me over into it. Yeah. But in general, like the head trauma, I think I just recently kind of got over that, to be honest, with some of the stuff I've been doing. Not until I truly looked at brain health and how I can improve it did I fill those gaps in. Yeah. Started studying TV.
Just winging it, trying to make it work.
Right. Now, did you ever get knocked in the head?
Yeah. I mean, it was more like elbows. And,
street brawls?
Yeah, I've been hit pretty hard.
You said this was an eighth.
No.
$20 a gram.
Speaking of a story, I was...
Give me a good one, bro.
Good one? Okay.
Give me a good one.
So at a time, let's see, I was probably 22. I had an after-hours club, and it was called the Late Night Hype. And
that's going to be a problem already.
It was set up from 1 to 5 in the morning. We'd have free liquor all night long, and it was $20 to get in.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and it was set up on in the hood over there off of Southeast 15th and High. And if you're familiar with the city, you'll know that area. And so it was, it was a slow start, and but then it started building. It became very successful. We ended up having like 15, 20 people show up one week. Then the next week it went to 20 to 40. Then the next week it hit 100. And the last week we had it went to 200. But we were just renting an event space from this guy. And so this guy we were renting the event space from, he saw the money we were making off the door, And so the very next week he increased the rent agreement. We were paying $800 for the space for the weekend. He went from $800 to $3,000, basically priced it so high that we were like, no, fuck you, man. We're not going to do that. So he took the same idea we had, kept that same concept going, and kept running it. With that being said, we went to go find a new location. Well, at that time, we had some people reach out from us from Lawton that wanted us to come throw a little party down there. So we go down there, we're throwing the party.
L-Town, baby.
Yeah, it was
dude.
Clinton, Oklahoma,
Dude,
actually.
No.
And so, being the fact that I'm like really the only white guy in this building, I was selling weed in there and a little bit of ecstasy as well. And so I'm in there. Some guys come to buy some weed from me, and I have my little digital scale on my neck. I go into the bathroom to sell this guy like an eighth of some perp or something like that. I go into the bathroom with him. I don't notice the other two guys that are already in the bathroom. So I go into the stall. I'm getting the weed together, selling the weed. And the moment I come out of that stall, the big dude hits me right in the face. Boom. But he didn't knock me out. Luckily, at that time, I'm just trying to fight my way out of this bathroom. There's 3 dudes in there. One just smacked me in the face really hard, punched me in the face. And so I ate that. He luckily didn't knock me out. They were trying to rob me, basically.
Ate it like a sandwich, baby.
And I ate it. I kind of wrestled with him and forced my way up out of the bathroom. I yanked that door so hard, I ripped the handle off of it. Ended up getting out of there, going to find my friends. Those guys shot out of there. But that was a pretty hard hit. I've been hit a couple of times,
Any prison brawls?
Yeah. It was more so with the Aryan Brotherhood, just because I didn't want to. Like I said, most of my friends and people I called close family were black. And, but when I go to prison, I look like the perfect fucking little Aryan Brotherhood soldier. I mean, I'm 250 fat, but I'm 250, 6'3".
That's a big guy.
And they're like, oh,
piece of meat.
And they're like, you need
unit.
to link up. And so the only fights I got into with was, the Aryan Brotherhood and,
Respect though, brother.
And so I just, but it's just like anything. If you stand up for yourself, they're not going to fucking keep messing with you.
Yeah.
And so I got into a few fights and then was left alone at that point.
Not worth it, dude.
Yeah, because there's a lot of other people that just lay down. You
Yeah.
know? And if you, just like anything, they're going to go look for the next victim.
Yeah. I had my buddy Dylan Swartz. He's from West Coast, Chico, California, in a similar situation. And they did not like him. He said he would get jumped every so often. And he said whenever he got jumped, he would just pick out one dude in the group and just kick his ass.
Just really go
beat
for
the
him.
shit out of that one dude. And he said next time he gets jumped again, that one guy who's gonna look at him like, oh hell no,
I'll do that on your own.
He was like, why is this?
I'm gonna get a few good ones for sure.
Why is this guy only beating the shit out of me?
Man, if you try, it's just like anything. Like if you try to take too many tasks on at once, you're gonna half-ass do all of them. So you got to find the person.
Right,
right there.
Unless you're on some real kung fu, karate.
Yeah,
stuff,
but I wasn't on any of that.
No, you're on a street brawling.
I know how to throw. I know how to stand up and box and throw some good stiff jabs.
Right,
and then finish up with the right hand overhand hook and try to knock them out. But yeah. So I mean, never had anything diagnosed. Just have a couple of scars.
Lucky. Yeah. Like I said, same. I've been hit. I probably had a bunch of small concussions, but nothing I couldn't just be like,
Yeah, I mean, shit, we really didn't even know what concussions were back then.
No,
Had a little headache after. And
right,
like, oh, wow,
right, yeah. The
the
definition they give you now is like if you see sparkles, and I'm like, dude, if we're counting those, I got bad news for you. On a play-by-play.
Those ringers back in the day, you got a little stinger or a little ringer.
I'm seeing stars, man. So tell me about what it was like when you first showed up. So, like, what was the emotions that you were experiencing? Yeah, what was, because that's got to be just like, you hear stories about
social
that, man.
Disconnect, it wasn't even the people. It wasn't the environment that I was in, the environment in which I was in was fucking terrible. I mean, in Oklahoma County, you have 3 people in every 2-man cell.
God.
And so, I mean, you got
Dudes
2 people
everywhere.
in bunks and then 1 person in a boat sleeping on a floor in a fucking 8 by 6.
So, like, the size of these couches?
Yeah, and I mean it's pretty thin. You got metal bunks on the wall. You got a shitter with a sink on top of it, and then you got 3 men stuck in here, almost 24 hours a day. And so because the system was so overloaded that they don't let people out, because the only way you can control the people is to keep them locked down.
Dang.
So you would barely get out to get your showers. You maybe get out three days a week to get a shower, and it's an hour in the pod. But it wasn't even that so much. Tacos with me.
Right.
But it was more so the disconnect, feeling like my life has stopped and everybody else's life is going on, not being able to reach out, not being able to talk to people, not having any control over your own life. Somebody tells you when to go to sleep, tells you when to wake up, tells you when to eat. You just have absolutely no control. And having control issues, that was a big one for me, just not being able to make any decision, or, trying not to think about like, shit, I'm going to be in here for a couple of years, and not knowing what that's going to take. I think I dealt with the people just fine and the environment, but the things that were out of my control were the hardest to process.
So what did you do to stay sane?
Read and work out.
They had a library?
No, I mean, just books that your family would drop off. You could get books delivered to you. But when you don't get to a library till you actually hit the yard. And so hitting the yard sometimes takes a while. You're in county, waiting to pull chain is what they say, and you're in county for a month, maybe 2 months. And then when you pull chain, you go to Lexington where they assess and receive you. It's called A&R.
Yeah, Lexington's a nasty place.
And so then they're in there, then they're debating on, well, how hard of a prison is this young man going to go to? They base it off of the crime that was committed, any gang affiliations, repeat offender. If you have a violent crime, you're going to hit a hard yard. If you're a gang member, you're going to usually go to a harder place. So they have maximum, medium, minimum, and work centers, and then halfway houses. I was sent to a medium, which is basically, mediums and maximums are usually on the same yard. The maximums are just on a separate area, but mediums are like, Holdingville, McAllister, the walls out there, those are all mediums too. They also have super maxes on those as well. But when you're at a medium, so you're at a medium. So Supermax, man, it's just you're locked down 24/7.
I don't even want to know. And you're breeding a worse person.
Oh, absolutely. There's no. What would you call
You're not learning how to be a
There's
better
no rehabilitation.
Yeah, you're not learning how to be a better person.
Absolutely. And most of the time, it amplifies. You
getting madder. I'd be sitting there getting more pissed off.
And so the thing is, when you go to a medium, you're in prison with people that aren't getting out. You know, when you're in a medium, as long as you don't do anything crazy, you're not going to go to a supermax or a max. And so I'm in here with a 12-year sentence, which I can't even talk about because, I might mention the fact that, I get out in potentially 5 years, and that's talking to a person that's not going to get out.
Yeah, the crab's going to pull you back in the bucket.
Exactly. So then they'll
beat you up.
They'll try to do things to get you in trouble. They'll try to do things that crabs in a bucket. They don't want to see anybody else get out of there because they're never going to get out.
And small towns are like that too. I will say
exactly.
Yeah, they're
exactly.
You can't do it.
I'm not. You're not going to do it if I can't.
Yeah, people used to when I said I want to be a doctor and I was going to OCCC. Yeah, that's what they're like. Yeah, you can't do that.
We can't let him win. He's going to sit here and suffer with us.
Right, we're going to be losers together.
And so that's I stayed to myself, man. I worked out so I'd be ready for anything.
Right.
When you work out and you see somebody over there pushing and getting in, they kind of leave you alone.
Right. Yeah.
When you see he's training himself that hard, I don't want to fuck with that guy.
Yeah. So tell me about your prison workouts,
bro.
And did you work out before that? You did basketball, but you never lifted like weights.
Man, my physical activity wasn't shit. I was fat, bro. It was just simply selling drugs and then partying in between. There was no taking care of myself whatsoever. And my whole love for physical activity was developed in that environment because, it was nothing to do. I'd work out 3 times a day, doing hundreds and hundreds of push-ups, sit-ups, crunches. eventually, if you get a good celly, you know, you guys are putting on each other's shoulders doing squats.
Let's go.
You know, finding out ways. Water bags. You get trash bags. You double up and triple up the trash bags. Fill them up with water, and then you're lifting weights with them. But then if you get caught with the water bag, you're in trouble too. So, you know,
just like mad push-ups.
Yeah, push-ups, dips. We would do like elbow extensions off the sides of the bunks. You know, we call them Tysons, where you go up with the arms and you really flex, and you're doing shoulder movements like this. And so you do push-ups and you come up and you do Tysons is what they were called. Tysons and burpees. That's probably the only, I don't make any of my clients do burpees. I fucking hate burpees.
Right. Probably wore out on those.
Yeah, won't do those ever again. Won't put anybody through that, or ramen noodles.
Right. Now, did you get shredded in prison?
Oh, absolutely, man. I went from 250 to 180.
Wow.
When I was pretty skinny at that time, just because you don't have enough nutrients.
Right.
The food they feed
Man, you were burning, huh? You lost 70 pounds.
I mean, over a 3-year process too, though.
Still,
so, but
still.
yeah, it was a significant change, and you know, I wish
pretty heroic if you think about it, that you didn't have any of the nutrition that was required to really
peanut butter on commissary.
Right.
And so, or you know, the food they feed you is just so low quality, bro. So low quality because, you know, prison is big business.
Yeah,
and so,
they
you
make
know,
money.
that's why there's private prisons. There shouldn't ever be a private prison. And that means somebody's profiting off incarcerating people.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think that's right. That needs to be a state thing. So, you know, they try to cut costs wherever they can. If they get $40,000 a year per inmate they house, and they only spend $10,000 a year housing and feeding this person, they profit $30,000 off of each inmate that they hold.
Yeah.
And you know, so the food is shit. The best diet you can get is say that either you're Muslim or that you're a vegetarian, and then you can get some like actual greens. You know, there's times where people would be breaking into the kitchen and stealing stuff, and then they would feed you beans and greens for weeks on end. Shit. Doubling up. I mean, imagine beans and greens with a bunch of guys in a confined area.
Barting on each other.
Fucking enraged, getting mad because the gas levels.
And then everybody's
just going to your head.
And then everybody's hungry all the time, too, because you get irritable when you're hungry.
And also, if you see somebody that's got a lot of commissary and stuff, the jealousy comes in.
Yeah.
You know, it's an environment that breeds violence and hate. I mean, just mad. You know, it's definitely not a rehabilitating setup.
So fitness was an outlet. How did you keep your mind right? So you said books were a big part.
Yeah, I mean, not truthfully, honestly, man. I hated reading. I hated sitting still, and so I never read a full book from front to back until I was incarcerated.
Well,
you know, and that was the first time that I sat down and read something. And you know,
what'd you read?
Some of them weren't too good. I read Richard Kalinsky, the Iceman's biography. He was they have a movie on it, but he was a hitman for the mafia, and he was
wrong kind of books. You should
yeah,
be
bro.
reading,
I mean, I was like so when I was requesting these books, I was in a shitty mind state, and then the other one was
how do I kill people?
The other one was about a drug smuggler that the movie Blow was.
Damn it, dude!
Yeah,
You're reading all.
I was reading all the wrong shit.
Get the freaking Bible in there, bro.
My mom sent me The Shack. I read The Shack, which was a really good book, and then I read the Bible. I didn't read it from front to back, but I would lean into the Bible during some really tough times, you know, and that's really kind of where I started, you know, getting into religion and finding a little bit more strength in prayer, and you know, finding somebody to talk to that wasn't going to be just. There was people to talk to, but sometimes you just rather just keep your mouth shut than talking to them. They're going to amplify. They're not going to help. It's not a good psychiatrist that you're talking to.
Making it worse.
Yeah, they're going to be like, yeah, fuck that man.
Let's go. Yeah, go kick his ass.
Fuck him up. He's right over there. I'll jigger out for you.
That's ridiculous.
But it is, you know, reading and more so working out. It was my way of escaping. And it's the same way that I kind of did basketball when I was younger. You know, I'd have a rough day or something. And I would just go grab the ball and go in the backyard and shoot around for hours, you know.
That's all you can do.
And so working out, playing some card games, chess, learned how to play chess. Spades was a big one. Dominoes. I couldn't stand the shit talking with dominoes, so I didn't play that too much.
Right. It's going to escalate.
Yeah.
So all that work ethic, and mindset whenever, because you were doing it on nothing, and then you have access to a gym and nutrition. So tell me about what it was like getting out of that.
Man, getting out of it was
The real world.
Yeah, I had anxiety. Like I at times where I've never experienced anxiety, like being around crowds, going to places, you know, feeling like I was just still in an environment that I had to always look over my shoulder.
Hell yeah.
Always like look over my back. So like going to stores, going to concerts, like this is something I still deal with to this day. Like when I'm around large crowds, it's hard for me to like, you know, not be looking around or not just almost be like ready for some shit to jump off.
Yeah.
And it's something that I still struggle with today. They're like, hey man, you don't have to feel like that. That's not serving.
You're the biggest guy here.
That shit, it sometimes didn't stop them.
Yeah.
But, you know, just having social anxiety in places that I never would have thought, like going to the grocery store, like I'm feeling socially awkward or like just like tight chested for no reason.
Yeah.
And then, you know, feeling like this was a good thing that, you know, I was so far, I got out, you know, I feel like people had already had their lives established. You know, they had families, they had a home, they had a career.
How old were you when you got out?
27.
27, and you had a daughter waiting on you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was doing the most before I got incarcerated, ended up getting a girl pregnant right before I left. So she was pregnant while I got locked up. My daughter was born probably 8 months into my sentence, and then I got out 3 years. So she was about two and 3 months when I got out. Mm-hmm. Went from being a full-time drug dealer to coming out as a normal, trying to learn how to live civilian life, and I'm a father to a 2-year-old that.
Wow.
That I mean, I don't know a thing about being a good dad. You know, I know, and so I mean, just my life was flipped upside down. But I had a ton of drive, and my drive came from the fact that my life felt like it got paused. I feel like my life stopped when I was 24. It stopped while everybody else's life just continued to go on. And it's a good thing, though, because when I got out of there, man, I had a drive like no other. Man, I was working 3 jobs, going to school, trying to put myself. So when I got out, I got Pell Grants to pay for school because I was a felon with no income. And so I got all these Pell Grants to pay for school. I was doing HVAC schooling. I was doing construction work during the morning. Then I was doing training people from like 1 to 3, 1 to 4, and then going and cooking at night.
Wow.
And so I did that for a year or so until I was able to really establish myself as a trainer and be able to start cutting some of those ends loose, you know.
HVAC is a rough place to be.
Yeah.
Did that for a couple summers. And I was like, hell no.
Well, that's what my dad called me a dumbass because, man, I had done 2 years of HVAC work, had my apprentice card for 2 years, and I went to school at Metro Tech, which put me to where I was about to go take my journeyman's. And at the same time, I was going to school for personal training, being a personal trainer. And I ended up turning down a job as a service tech at $30 an hour, being a convicted felon. I mean, I thought that was great. My dad was like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. You're going to do what? Go train people? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to try to do this, you know? And I was like, I promise you HVAC isn't going anywhere. If this doesn't work, I can always come back to it, you know? Fast forward 2-3 years later, man, I'm making 6 figures off of doing what I love to do, training people.
Baby. Blow up.
And, you know, I try not to rub it into his face, but sometimes whenever I started blowing up, I was like, hey, man, I'm making, you know, $5,000-$6,000 a month off of training. What do you think about that now, Dad?
Like, dinner's on me, baby.
Yeah, I got
do it in a humble way, you know.
And, you know, but just not I guess maybe because there were so many unknowns, you know, I wasn't scared to potentially fail because I had hit just the fucking most rock bottom I've ever had in my fucking life. And the thought of, oh, well, you know, I go try to be a trainer and I fail, and I'm like, so fucking what? I mean, I just repivot and change the direction and go again, you know?
Yeah, your understanding of pain was different than everybody else's.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things when we switch from trauma, within trauma is talent. So,
absolutely.
Like the ability to
talent you might not even known you had.
Right, bro.
Took that trauma to like peel back those layers, you know, and
there's a dog in here, right? There's a dog,
root, you know,
underneath this sheep, there's a freaking dog, you know.
And it takes that. It takes something dramatic, something so forceful. It smack you a little bit to like wake you up.
What would have happened to Zach if you would have just stayed doing what you were doing?
I'd have probably been killed.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, you know, or got incarcerated for something worse than what I got caught for.
Yeah,
you know, because I don't see it would have been. I'm the type that's going to progress, and I was good at it. You know, I gave my mom a good amount of money before I left. I'm not going to say anything here, but gave her a good amount of money before I left. So, I mean, I was successful at whatever I chose to do because I apply myself. I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so it just would have been progressing in a dark and not too loving environment.
Right.
And so I would have been progressing, but that could have potentially, you know, people will kill you over small amounts of money, let alone being large amounts of money.
Yeah, especially in the wrong places, man. I don't care.
And then, my mom, when I got incarcerated, she felt like I was safer in prison than I was in the streets doing what I was doing.
Hallelujah for the mom.
And so, you know, and then also, you know, me being a bad kid. I told you we were a non-religious family growing up. One day I went home and she was like, I turned you over to Jesus. And I was like, when did you start going to church?
Yeah.
So, I mean, my actions helped my mother find the Lord, help her find Jesus. And, you know.
You drove your mom to God, huh?
Because, I mean, that was the only person she could turn to. And so she felt like I was safer in there. And she might have just had a feeling that this is what what I needed.
Were you close with your mom?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My mom was almost to a point to where she was, you know, enabling that's what I was like, enabling everything I did. I mean, she would be the type that would get on the stand and lie for me, bro. The first time I had somebody she had just been through so much shit in her life that she didn't care what I did. She was going to be there for me.
That's a mother's love.
And so, you know, she was the first person to ever give me a gun. I told her, I was like, hey, man, somebody came over here, tried to like kick in my door, and she came over, brought me a .38 revolver. And she said, I loaded a slug and a buckshot. They called them rat killers. And she said, you got the rat killer first. You slow them down with that, then you finish them off with this.
Good God.
My mom was not playing any fucking games.
Good God.
She did not care. And just the lifestyle she had, you know, she was raised by two very violent drunks, always on the go, never had a place of home. And, you know, they had to steal to even, or the mom, or my Nana, would make them steal in order to pay for their drinking habits, and then if there was some left over, they would get food. And so they'd go to little show homes, and my Nana would walk through the show home and leave a door unlocked or a window unlocked. Then she would send my mom and her brother into there to go steal all the furniture and everything that they could, and they'd go pawn that shit. And then her mom and them would go get some alcohol, and then whatever was left, they would get some food with it. But you know, so
culture, man.
Yeah,
culture.
It was just a toxic cycle, and you know, she loved me to a fault. Yeah. There was nothing I could do that she wasn't going to be there for my back. She had it.
What was it like getting out and coming back to her?
Man, it was different because at this time, you know, my parents got divorced while I was in there. They didn't tell me about it like it was going to wreck my life. I was like you guys could have told. I'm an adult. I'm in prison. I'm dealing with some shit. You guys could have told me for
We can't tell Zach.
He's going to lose it.
He can't handle it
while he's in there. He can't get a divorce. Right. And so, you know, that didn't bother me at all. But my mom had stage 4 cancer shortly after I got out. And so about a year and a half after me getting out in 2000, and it was 2 years actually. Man, time's just kind of a blur. She was diagnosed with stage 4 renal cell carcinoma, and my parents were divorced. I don't have any brothers or sisters. My mom couldn't work, and so I was at the point to where I had to take care of my mother, and so I moved back in with her to take care of her, and she tried to do chemo for a year or so, and it was just so hard on her body. It just took all the quality of life out of it. She would go do her chemo, and then she'd be in the room for days on end, and we had to talk, and we were saying, I was like, what's the point of extending something if this is going to be your life?
Yeah.
And so she stopped chemo and ended up living for a year and a half, after that. We had some great trips. She wanted to go to, she was a scuba diver instructor and a ski instructor prior to me being born. And so she wanted to go back to the ocean. So before she had passed, we ended up getting to do a family trip to Belize. I took my daughter, her, and my girlfriend at the time to Belize, and she got to get in the ocean again. She wasn't strong enough to scuba dive, but it was a good trip that we got to have.
Let it out, man.
Oh man,
That made me cry too.
I love my mama, man. I miss her so much. But like back to the point, she had cancer. It wasn't a fact of, are we going to beat this? It's just like, when is it going to beat her? And she ended up fighting it for a year and a half. And that whole time, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. Yeah. But still trying to show up and do everything I can to be there for her, to be the rock that she was always for me. Mm. And, the whole time saying that I couldn't do it. And then, when she finally did pass, and there wouldn't have been a thing that I would have ever changed, being able to be there during that time and being there for somebody that was always there for you without a fucking question, without a doubt, just had your back. Mm. And being able to finally repay that, man, it was just life-changing, a feeling that I don't think I could ever match again. Yeah. And then also her getting to see me in a better place. She had always seen me in a dark place. And just recently, man, I got to go through her books. One of those books in there was a Bible she gave me. And at the time, I never opened it. She wrote me a note in there, and she was like, I know you're in a dark place, baby. And, oh, shit. And this was just a month ago when I finally had enough to go through these books, man. And just being able to let her see me in a better place, because she had saw me in so many dark places, so many bad places. And just for her to, get a moment, even though what she was dealing with, to see her baby doing better, mm-hmm. being the father that I needed to be. And I wouldn't change any of that. It was the hardest shit I ever had to do in my life, but I would do it over again and over again. Give me a second.
That's a beautiful ending to that story, man.
Thank you. I need a taco, thank you.
Right. Coming through. That was an emotional roller coaster, bro.
Yeah, that was, bro, something that I don't talk about a lot.
No, that's I appreciate you doing that, dude. I mean, having me flashbacks to my mom and stuff like that too. But man, I sit through a lot of stories, Zach.
Yeah.
As a therapist, bro, I sit through a lot of shit, and
only imagine.
And bro, and very rarely do I find myself moved to emotion and to tears. But I was like, damn, this is fucking beautiful.
Oh man,
yeah, I'll never forget that, man. That was like just to be able to close it out like that, man. Like, talk about a fucking handing that torch of life off, bro.
Yeah,
like, you would talk about a beautiful experience, because man, that story could have been so fucking bad.
Yeah,
both ways.
I could have been incarcerated longer. I could have got out and did the same dumb shit and got incarcerated. Then she gets sick.
Right, she dies while you're in there.
Nobody's there to take care of her. I mean, I was all she had. I was everything. No siblings, nothing. And it's kind of like what you're saying. When your back's up against the wall, you'll be fucking amazed at the things that you can accomplish.
Yeah.
When you don't give yourself the option to not. When you don't give yourself, like, it's not, can I do this, but it's, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get this done? There is no room for accepting not giving it my all. Like, I don't even see failure.
Yeah.
I just see a way, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get this done? And I think just applying that to my life, man, has been so strong. So impactful.
You're reaping the results, man. Now you're sharing that message too. I'm inspired. I read a lot of books. I talk to a lot of people. This is inspiring shit.
And I appreciate that.
For sure. And guess one thing that, I guess this makes more sense to me, why you're so into outdoors, why you're so much into the wilderness, and certainly part of that is like we just don't like being around that many people. Yeah. Right. Shut up. Where are there no people? I'm gonna go there. But also, like, you're always doing all these awesome trips. You know, all going to the jungles. We're cliff diving. We're doing all the things.
Experience, man, life.
And then what got you into that? And
my mom. Yeah. So, like I said, she was a scuba diver and ski instructor, and when she died, she wanted her ashes spread. She wanted her spread in the ocean, and she wanted them spread in the mountains. And so prior to that, I have never went hiking, never saw the mountains, never did any of that. And so she was a ski instructor in Vail. She requested that I take her ashes to Vail, and she wanted them spread in this little creek that her little house that she lived on in the 70s, bro. This is 50 years ago. When she was in Vail, Vail has changed dramatically. I could not find the shack, and I could not find the creek. So what I did is I got on all trails, man, and I found a hike. I found an alpine lake, and I was like, man, I'm going to hike to this lake, and I'm going to go take her ashes there. And when I got there, it was a big, long, strenuous hike. And then I just had a feeling that is almost undescribable when I sat down there by myself in the mix of all these huge peaks and valleys, and then, you know, just the air was different and the feelings were different, and I almost felt like she was there with me during that time. So I leave her ashes there, and, you know, and then the feeling that I got was so powerful. It was like I wanted it again, and I wanted it again. So I left a little bit of her ashes there, and I drop a pin, and I drop that pin there, you know, and I label it Gigi's ashes, and then, you know, I feel like the world is so distracting that the only time that I feel a presence like that is whenever I'm in the mix of nature, and I'm like grounded. Nature grounds me, man. Mm-hmm. It pulls me back, you know, to what really fucking matters.
Right.
And, you know, we get all these things that we think really matter, you know, money, things to show for that, you know, and then really none of that shit lasts. None of that shit brings happiness. And the feelings that I got were unmatched out in nature, and, you know, sitting there with her ashes and thinking about just her and her presence and her influence and the influence that she had after she was gone.
That's legacy, dog.
Like, you know, like it was more powerful when she was gone than when it was here.
Legacy.
And
also, she ain't gone.
No, she's always there.
She's always there. That's the crazy thing.
And I feel her presence a lot when I go hike. Yeah. And when I'm out there, and then that's one thing that, you know, if it wasn't for her, I would have never become the outdoor enthusiast I am. You know, and so that's something that I've now translated and passed down to with my daughter. So we'll go on these hikes together. We'll go to these places together, and I pack a little bit of Gigi with me everywhere. And the cool thing is, man, I go on my Apple's map and I hit Gigi's ashes, and then all these pins start dropping, boom, 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 boom. And it brings back this feeling of like, yeah, we did that. Mom, we did that.
That's beautiful.
You there, and I got you what you wanted. I got you what you needed. Your baby boy's doing good. I'm doing good.
Doing great, brother.
Thank you.
Legend amongst men. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Making your mama proud.
Thank you, bro.
Cool. And also, I'm excited to go on these trips, too.
Yeah.
Now I get to step underneath your wing.
I got the brother I never had, man.
That's right. That's it. Yeah, I love it, man. And we can start doing these trips for people because
they need to experience that, man. Yeah, powerful.
Give that gift away. And I'm doing the exact same thing. It's like, and I've maxed out psychiatry, dude. There's only so much I can do with talk therapy and pills and cold plunges and red lights, and I'm doing all that, man. But at the end of the day, we just have to put people back on the frontier, put them back out in nature, because these experiences, these connecting moments, they're just not going to happen sitting on your couch when you're scrolling on your fucking phone.
That ain't life. That ain't life. Nothing is more rewarding than giving that to somebody, you know, and then watching that just fucking course through them.
What's it like taking your daughter on those?
It's been up and down, you know.
But it goes good, bro. Give me a good one before you give me a bad one.
I'll give you a good one, man. They're all, even the bad ones are good ones. You know, we went to Sedona and the Grand Canyon, Sedona, and we got to take her ashes to a couple different places. And, you know, the main thing, all the hikes are hard, right? And this is an 8-year-old little girl at the time. Never hiked, never did anything crazy like that or strenuous, never been challenged that physically. And, you know, I was like, you remember Gigi and how strong she was? And I was like, you are her. You are going to be the strong woman that Gigi was, and that's my responsibility to make for you. And I said, every time that we do this together, Gigi feels us, Gigi sees us doing this, and it is what I'm supposed to do as your father, to pass down the power that she gave me. And now I'm getting to give you this same beautiful power, baby. You can go over and conquer any fucking mountain that is presented to you. One step at a time. We gonna do this. And, you know, and then we get up there to the top, and she's like, man, that was hard. And I was like, yeah, it was. And now let's sit here, and then we leave some of her ashes, and we have a fucking moment together. And moments that I didn't ever get with my father.
Yeah.
You know, he was a great man. He was a hard-working man, but he never took time to sit down with you and build memories. You know, curate these memories everlasting. And so we even as a family, you know, pivoted from celebrating Christmas to, you know, buying gifts, unnecessary gifts. We get what we need through the year. There's no reason to like think really hard, like, what else do I actually really fucking want? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then whatever you think you're getting your daughter this great or your kid this great gift, and they love it for like 2 weeks and then fucking push it off to something else and they never play with it again. But I guarantee you, every place that I take my daughter and moment that we had, she'll remember. Yeah. She'll remember those places that
That's
we
special.
went.
She surely, yeah. She won't remember the Snapchat. She won't remember. She won't remember the social media, dude. Those are the,
what cell phone did I have when I was this age?
Right.
None of that shit matters. It's creating everlasting memories, and my mom did that in her afterlife, and the power that she had over me even after she was gone. I think she was more powerful after she was gone.
Yeah,
more impactful. You know, and still thankful to this day for everything that she has done.
And that's a great way to end that. Yeah, we finished strong, dude. So
yes,
that's the power that comes with
had
actually
a complete therapy session today.
That's good stuff. Yo, we're gonna hit the people, man. We're gonna hit the people.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
Yeah, so I'm sure you're spreading that off into the people that you train. Surely pick up your energy.
I try to live by it.
That's infectious.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shitty things that can be infectious. Why not have some positive stuff?
Right. So, I mean, it's you know, because you see it I'm sure it happens to you, it happens to me. You know, you get out of the car and you got like you're dressed up, you're looking nice, you got a pretty girl with you, and like people are like, oh,
just visually attracted
yeah,
to you, like
just
the energy. It's like everybody sees you, they feel it.
Yeah.
When you walk in the room, they look at you. And that's the type of energy that you're putting out there. It's not even necessarily the physical side of things. Yes, the physical side of things help, but it's the energy that you two have combined. You know, your energy is special. Her energy is special. But when you guys are together, the energy is even more. It's
the holy union, man.
Yeah, beautiful.
I've been reading about this a lot lately too, because you know we're both about to get married too, at the same time, which I think is interesting. Kind of funny.
Another deep connection.
Right, and our girls' birthdays are the same, like 2 weeks away.
Crazy. There's so many similarities and connections that we're still discovering to this day, man.
Yeah.
For example, like the religion between you and Nadia, you know what I mean? Like how forceful it was, and you're like how much you were kind of beat with it as a child.
Yeah, religious trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
They call it being church hurt.
Church hurt.
Yeah,
That's
church
the word
hurt. Yeah, it's like butt hurt,
yeah,
but church hurt.
Nadia had it hard, and I mean, and then so whenever
it'll fuck you up, dude. Yeah.
It made her almost like take step backs and
because she's an anxious type by nature.
Absolutely.
A little bit. Yeah. So was I. So that's why me and Nadia vibe so well.
Y'all definitely did.
We vibe.
Whenever that conversation came out, I was like, oh, that's they're right on track with
like you went through this. Yeah, like I thought I was gonna burn in hell for the rest of my life, dude. And I was like 6 years old. You know, that's an intense way.
Nothing a 6-year-old should ever be thinking.
Well, man, it was just a lot of you know, it was a lot of hellfire and brimstone. It was a lot of like pain and like you're just a terrible person. You'll always be a terrible person. Like just, you know, there's
trying to persuade by scare tactics.
Yeah, there's no way to actually win. Like if you did everything perfectly, it still would never be enough.
You're still shit.
And that right, you're still shit. And I lived my life that way until recently, like 30.
Really, it's the opposite.
Until I was 30. It is the opposite. Yeah, that's the New Testament, bro. He's like, no. He's like, you are fundamentally good. You are awesome.
You blew my mind last weekend with that because, like I told you, I said I never knew the difference between, you know, what the Old Testament was and what the New Testament was. And I mean, just completely blew my mind when we got to talking about that.
Bro, I grew up and I was atheist, I guess atheist hard for like 10 years. I thought you were stupid because I went and studied all that biology, all this stuff. I poked all the holes in like the Bible. And then whenever I started doing like neuroscience and psychology, and I started thinking about evolutionary, like what were they trying to talk about? What were they trying to say? And I was like, oh my God, dude, this is loaded with so many bangers, you know? And there's nothing more powerful to me than like at baseline that you have everything within you. Like you have the power of God at your fingertips. You've been blessed and given with that. You're not a piece of shit.
No.
Right. You
don't have to earn it. Right. You are born with it. And then in the direction you go, it can go either way. But you what really sat with me is we're all come out good. We're all good. And what fucks us up and what turns us is the world. Yeah. It's not what we are naturally. We are naturally pure. We come out pure. And trauma, life, people, and the environment, those all mold us into something that is not pure. Yeah. And then we start off pure, and then we go down these dark tracks, and then we're slowly trying to get back to our original self, our true self.
Yeah, the book I'm about to give you, he said, once a man has lost his heart, he will spend his whole life trying to get it back. Boom. And I was like, damn, that's exactly the story of my life. Yeah. When I was 5 years old, I had my life taken away from my little brother. And then since then, like that was why I became a doctor in the first place, was like, I'm trying to get this life back. Yeah. I'm trying to pump it back into the system. I'm trying to ally with the correcting forces in the life instead of allying with the trauma. Yeah. When you give up, whenever you give up or you dive into the drugs, the alcohol or the pornography or the suicide, like you're allying with the same force that fucked you. Yeah. How are you going to switch colors on me, dog? You know what I mean? How are you going to sign up with the same thing that shit on you? You're going to go become that force. That is dark. Driving. Yeah. That's what, so here's the thing, bro. You know, that's what the minister of darkness, right? Like in general, like the Bible's a weird thing, but just think about positive and negative. The positive forces are going to want more positive, and the negative forces are going to want more negative forces. And that presents itself, you know, certainly. It
amplifies and grows. It's like a fucking snowball.
It's psychology. There's positive psychology and there's negative psychology. So it's going to try to suck you that direction. And if it sucks you into it, it pulls you into it, you're going to be that, and then you're going to cause more of that and pull more people down. Like that is a fucked up situation. And talking about moms, whenever I was like going through it, you know, I would fucking close my eyes when I was driving. And I didn't know why I was doing this. I was like, I don't know, 18, 19 or something like that, 17, somewhere in there, maybe 16. But I just remember driving across the bridge, going back between Norman and Blanchard, and I would just fucking close my eyes and see how long I could drive without, you know, crashing. Yeah. And and then after the fact, I was like, holy shit, because, you know, luckily it just kind of stayed straight. Nothing bad ever happened. But then after that, like, it just scared the shit out of me. And I think what was happening is I was testing it. I was like, fucking do this shit, man. Yeah. If you fucking, are we going to do this shit or not?
And you just kind of let go. Or like,
are we going to fucking do it or not? Like, if I'm feeling these sensations, like, I want to fucking, this sucks so much, I want to fucking die. Yeah. And then, like, God, if you put me down here for this shit, dude, then just fucking, what's the point? Yeah. And then after that,
he took that wheel though.
Jesus took the wheel, baby.
He took that wheel though. He was like, "No, it's not time, bro."
Carrie Underwood, shout out, baby.
He took that
Jesus,
wheel.
take the wheel.
You had too much to.
So check this out, bro. I sat there and I thought about that. I was like, "Shit, dude. Well, if you did die, what would happen?" And I was like, "They're probably gonna throw a funeral for you." You know, I was like, you're kind of a piece of shit, but they're going to at least do that for you, you know? And I remember, like, looking at my family's faces.
Viewing your friend
at the funeral. At the funeral, I was there. I saw my own funeral. And then I saw my mom's face, bro, fucking weeping. And that was the moment where I realized that I have the power to influence people's lives. I didn't believe it in a positive way. I didn't think I could make people's lives better, but I knew for a fact that I'm going to ruin this for her. I just saw that happen with my little brother, and then I'm gonna go and do that. I'm gonna repeat that. And when you have the horror of standing above your own casket and seeing your mother just sitting there fucking weeping, bro, just weeping, and then all your siblings out there just like having the worst time, and I was shook, dude. That moment woke your boy the fuck up, and it was in that exact moment where I said, death is not an option for me.
No more.
This sucks ass, but causing more pain is not what I am going to do. The second thing that flipped was, if I know that I can influence somebody in a negative way,
do it in a positive.
that's damn right. Yeah. So let me try to lift a motherfucker up. Let me start lifting a motherfucker up, dude. And that was around the same time. That might have happened right before I think I committed to wanting to be a doctor. I think it had to have been, because there's no way I would have done it without that underneath me. And the other thing that saved me was I saw my brothers fucking banging drugs, dude.
Yeah.
So like I saw them doing what you were doing, pretty much.
And you just wanted to help.
But like a lot
How
worse.
am I going to help?
Right.
Yeah, on a different level.
Right. So this is the benefit of having siblings is like watching your own self live out multiple realities.
If I were to go this direction or this direction, you had quite a few.
A lot.
Different scenarios presented to you within one household.
Right. So I got to see what different paths. Like if I would have been a great athlete and I went this way, if I would have did drugs, I would have went that way. If I just didn't try at all, I would have went this way. If I got hit by a truck, it would look like this. Right? A bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
So I got to see my older brother fucking tweak. Like he meth, opiates, all that shit, man. And like he got lost all of his weight, lost his wife, got divorced, and then just it was horrific watching this shit go out, man. And so I had, God speaks to you in realizations. We said this in the sauna, but like whenever reality talks to you, those aha moments, that is this thing, whatever you want to call it, talking to you and trying to present to you the lesson. Yeah. So whenever I saw that vision of my mom, that was reality talking to me.
Aha moment.
Like, don't you ever fucking take your hands off the wheel. God damn it, this life is worth living. Don't you dare bitch out.
You're too valuable, bro.
That's right. That's right. And I needed to see my mother's love for me in order for me to comprehend my own value, my own worth that I did not experience. I had to see it in somebody else in a very cataclysmic, aggressive situation in order for me to learn that, because I wouldn't have learned it, because my mom was always there. Yeah. She always said she loved me. She was always hugging on me, but I never felt it. That's trauma. Yeah. Right. Sure. I never felt it. I never felt that shit. And then in that horrific moment, it was presented to me in the most like impactful way for me to actually pay attention. So that was the first one that kept me alive. The second one was you're fucked up. And that puts the hook in your mouth for addiction. That puts the hook in your mouth for any kind of escapism.
Yeah.
So then I saw my brothers do drugs. So I said, okay, I can't do drugs. So if you can't die, you can't do drugs, Zach. What is left? What is left?
You got to deal with that shit.
We're going to the gym. Yeah. We're going to the gym.
We're gonna lift some weights.
And I lifted a shitload of weights, and I read a bunch of fucking books, dude. And like I said, we were living the same life, ironically, where we're slanging weights and we were reading books. And that's what set the foundation, because once you read that and you have that wisdom, just a little bit, dude, just a little bit in your ear, we're like, holy shit. You read about someone who sucks going to someone who's great. It like in your brain, you can do the math. Yeah. Like, wait a minute, these actions do these things. Yeah. So it's kind of independent of how I feel about it. And that's what sets you up to go and be the absolute person that you are. So tell me about the next step for Zach, man.
For right now?
Actually, we can talk about this mindset in relationship to your injuries. We got to talk about these. Oh. Right. So my guy blew out his patellar tendon and then is on one leg and the Achilles on the other.
So January 6th.
Doing cool shit, though.
Yeah,
definitely. So you're going to get injured no matter what, man. You get in a car crash, it all ends in the blink of an eye. If you're going to get an injury, bro, at least you're at a trampoline park with your daughter, you're cliff jumping.
So January 6th, my daughter's birthday, took about 8 little girls to the trampoline park.
Hell yeah, you did.
I'm a big kid at heart, man. So, I love doing these things. I'm a thick biscuit, too, in there jumping around. I'm 250, and we're in there. I've dealt with patella tendonitis in this knee, and I just thought it was some tendonitis, but I apparently had a partial tear in it, and I've had it for a very long time, trained with it, but I don't train ballistically. I train intently. I move with intent. I move in a controlled fashion, and I minimize force, right?
But we're the opposite. I'm ballistics only.
And so, I get to the trampoline park. I'm in there jumping, and I'm hitting the ceiling in that place, jump up, tap the rafters, and then come back down. The young man working there just 5 minutes before it happened, he was like, I've never seen a man your size jump the way you're jumping. Like, I mean, you are fucking flying,
Energy,
bro. And I mean, I'm all over that place, absorbing, producing, flying. I was feeling great. Come down, land, bend the knees, and this tendon right here, it pops. And when your patella tendon is such a thick
That's
tendon,
huge, bro.
Man, it felt like I got hit with a riot shotgun, like a beanbag hit me, poof, whole body. And it kind of went to shock, and I looked down, and my kneecap's up in my quad right here. My knee's bent. Nadia's right next to me, and her eyes are big as shit. And I'm like, I think we need to call an ambulance. Then my legs slowly start straightening back, and it doing all this on without trying. It's just doing it. And then I'm over there thinking that maybe I dislocated it. And so I was like, I think I'm all right. I'm all right. Let me
pop it back in.
I tried to stand up, like, nope. That shit ain't right. And so, it took 6 firemen and paramedics to carry me
off the trampoline.
Because, I'm 250, and you got 6 other men. We're probably 2,000 pounds on each one of these trampolines. So, I mean, they're dropping down. I'm almost like, I was like, bro, I'll drag myself out of here.
Yeah, it wouldn't be
drop
that.
me.
That's funny.
So they put an air cast on me, and they start carrying me out.
They drop you and you bounce off the trampoline. Your fucking legs flopping around.
Bro, it was,
oh, no.
So that was the first one. Get through that, and then found out through that I had some rare heart condition that I was born with. Never knew I had, which delayed me having surgery on this. So they had to get my heart checked out to make sure I was okay to go through anesthesia and go get put under. And so they finally give me clearance for that. I have 8 weeks of just complete immobilization. And so it was January 6th that it happened. January 26th, I was able to finally have surgery. And then after that, they had my leg locked out for another 4 weeks. Absolutely no movement.
What was it like having your drug of choice yanked away from you?
Oh, fucking physical activity, bro. It was the hardest thing that I've dealt with in a very long time.
It's crazy, huh?
Because I've leaned into physical activity.
Yeah, it's an outlet, man.
It's just therapy.
Sure, man. For sure.
Because whenever I get to putting physical stress on my body, guess what stops? Emotional stress, mental stress.
Yeah.
And so you get used to putting something so heavy on you that you're like, I can't think about anything else.
That's the blessing.
But this weight that's on me, this weight that I'm trying to move. And so then, I'm stuck there sitting in my thoughts without an outlet and just, trying not to get in a severe depressed state. Beyond that, I had aspirations of doing a bodybuilding show this year, which I went from, I bulked all year. I went through a whole year of eating fucking 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day.
I remember that.
And
you were
like
huge.
putting on size and then lifting and then eating and then lifting. And then I'm about to get to a point where I'm preparing for shows, and then all that shit snatched away from me.
Yeah.
And that's the first injury. And so trying to figure out how I'm going to work out still. It wasn't like, am I going to work out, but how am I going to work out?
Can't stop, won't stop, baby.
So I figured out a way, and, I was training everything I could. I couldn't move my knee, but I could train my hip and I could train my ankle. So I was doing ankle movements. I was doing glute work here. And then just really diving into my PT, 6 months later, 4 months later, I'm able to walk. 6 months later, I'm completely getting cleared from PT. The last PT session I had, I was doing some wind sprints. Felt great. This was right before our trip. And so the only thing I felt during the last PT session was whenever I was trying to slow down, it was very hard to try to slow down, from running very hard. but I was able to sprint again. It was beautiful.
How'd that feel?
It felt great because I didn't
hitting top speed is a crazy feeling.
I didn't know if I was going to be able to again. And so, sprinting again. And then after I left that sprinting session at the PT clinic, I started to feel a little discomfort down there. I thought I had a minor strain in my soleus or my gastroc, or the peroneal, one of those deep calf muscles. I thought it was the soleus. But apparently it wasn't the soleus, it was my Achilles. Yeah. And so, I limped around on this thinking I had a strained calf for 2 weeks. Fast forward to 4th of July weekend, you invite us out to the lake. I've dealt with that for 2 weeks. It stops hurting. So I kind of forgot about it, and then Ben's like, hey, you want to wakeboard? And I was like, man, I probably couldn't wakeboard. I just want to play it a little safe there. He's like, well, we can cliff jump. And I was like, bet, let's do it. And
we up there.
So we pull up, we go over there. We start, and the beautiful thing about these cliffs is there's multiple levels. You could start on the little one, build your confidence up. It was great. And so we hit all the levels where we're standing on the edge and then jumping off, standing on the edge and jumping off, go all the way up, hit the top one, and then we swim back to the boat. They're like, you ready for round 2? I was like, yep, let's do it. Go out there and I was like, oh, man, I'm going to do what I've been seeing on Instagram. I'm going to do some runs and jumps.
Yeah, that's how it gets you, dude.
And so, I do the first one. It felt pretty
Those
good.
are little guys doing that when we see them on the Instagram, too. It's always some skinny dude. It's not some big fucking guy. Meatball hitting the water.
There's actually this, Viking guy I follow that does it pretty well.
But I've seen that dude, too. Yeah,
he's badass.
Yeah, he's huge.
And so, I'm building my confidence up, and I'm like, I'm going to do the running jump. Do the running jump on the low one, and then I get to that middle one. I think Nadia's filming me at this time, and I run out, and as soon as I go to jump off this leg, it's just pop, and I'm in the air while I'm thinking about it, and it's not just a pop, but it's a pop, and then my foot goes limp, and I'm like, fuck. I immediately said it. I come up. I'm like, I think I just tore my Achilles. They're like, no, I think you're all right. You might have rolled your ankle. You convinced me. I was like, yeah, I think
I was on your side, bro.
I was on there palpating. I was like, I don't feel the tendon. They're like, man, you just have a little PTSD from your last experience. And so sit there and tough it out over the weekend and thought I just rolled my ankle. Fast forward a week later, go get an MRI, and I have a full thickness tear of my Achilles, a partial tear of my peroneals, and it all leads back to my basketball days. Like they were in bad shape is what they said. But 4 weeks into this, by the end of the year, I'd probably have 2 months of walking normal out of 12.
Yeah, that's a lot of trials, man. That's going to be talk about what are those? What is this teaching me moments?
Man, it teaches you people better just appreciate
patience.
Appreciate your body, man. Nobody would look at working out or moving your body as an inconvenience if you truly appreciated your body's capabilities.
Yeah.
Whenever you sit there and you go from being a fully capable person, pretty athletic, doing anything that you wanted at a drop of a dime, to like being nervous about taking a shower, about walking from your bedroom to the bathroom, getting in and out of a tub. Like, I feel just so pathetic.
Vulnerable.
I mean, pathetic. It was like
to go from a grown man just a lifeline.
I need help for everything, depending upon everybody to help me. And it was a humbling moment.
Yeah, you're not that kind of a guy. With a torn Achilles, you wouldn't let me do anything. I was like, dude, sit down, man.
We definitely
carrying coolers around. Like, go sit down, bro. Let me take care of you.
I just want to be helpful, man. I want to.
Bro, the best thing that you could do is let me. Yeah, that's a hard lesson to learn. That's how other people function. Like, I'm a doctor, bro. I like taking care of people, and if you don't let me do that. You're not letting me do what I do, dog. Yeah. But luckily, I have brothers who are just like you, who are just like fucking stumbling around. Like, bro, let me get you some soup.
I know how to handle that.
Fucking sit down. I got you. You got to bully. I mean, these guys who go, man. So you're so used to nobody ever being there, dude. Yeah. Like, that's wired into you, which I appreciate. That you're just a hustler and you're a go getter. And for men, the journey is like, the first one is independence. Or you start out dependent on your mother, and then you transition to independence, where I have to get away, I have to create my own empire, and then it transitions into interdependence, where it's I can't do this without a network, without my people, and I want to, and I want good community. So I'm at that same transition point where I was independent my whole life, And now I'm here and I'm like fucking lonely. Like, I'm too independent.
Yeah.
Right. So then it switches over. Like, how can I, be that for other people and have them be that for me too? That's the last stage that's where life gets really fun to me, is to start expanding into community and driving those roots down and seeing, it's good stuff, man.
You'll be surprised at what other people can bring out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, for real. It could be something as simple as something they say to you. And just allowing people into your life and, being vulnerable and, and allowing those people to be in your life and to help you whenever you're so used to saying, I don't need your help. Yeah. I don't need nobody. I don't need this. And, that's some stupid shit to say.
You're killing the community.
Yeah, that's some stupid shit
I did
to say.
I did this to my dad. Yeah. My dad's a provider. Like he that's what he loves to do. Yeah. Like if provision, like the guy, if you're having that many kids, like
you got to provide.
Yeah, you're looking to provide.
Yeah.
And then I felt I had a baseline guilt, and I was like, hey, don't give me nothing, Dad. Take care of the rest of your kids, man. Take care of the rest of them. Like I'm good. And like he saw me struggling in college, like not having any money, like scraping up food, like wearing tattered clothes. And, he would like try to give me stuff and I would be like, no. And I did not realize this until later, that I was denying my father's love.
His love language. You weren't allowing him to speak the way he loves. Like
right.
Providing.
So I was killing him. I didn't realize I was killing my own dad. I thought I was doing him a service.
Did you, when you looked back at that, how did your dad take it?
Oh, he didn't. I can tell he didn't like it. I distinctly remember seeing
it was hurting.
Right, but I didn't. Yeah, I did.
You didn't register.
Right.
But looking back, it's all retrospect's always 2020.
Right. I could see the look on his face, being like, uncomfortable, and like, because like think about this, man. You grew up taking care of this thing. It's all you've ever done, and now all of a sudden it's saying no.
I don't want your help.
Right. That's So he probably took that as like an insult,
or it just hurts.
Yeah, it just hurts
him in a way that nobody could hurt him. Being his seed, being the only person that. His purpose is here is to provide and protect and to be there. And then, damn, he's not letting me. And, just then you being able to go back and look at it and see that effect that it had on him.
Yeah, that sucks for a dad. In hindsight, it's like, because dads love to teach, I know you love to teach your daughter, but what if she was like, no,
Yeah, I don't know how I'd take that.
Yeah, no, it's a strange one. So
that'd be a hard one to deal with.
I do want to talk to you a little about your. I know you're about to get married in your relationship, but how did I guess obviously you have powerful women in your life,
Absolutely.
So how did that play a role into you and Nadia's relationship?
Nadia's a powerful woman. Nadia is I would call her alpha woman. Just what I mean, like
alpha female, baby.
Alpha female for sure. And especially with the relationships that she was in. She wore the pants in the relationships that she was in prior to. I'm so much different than the people that she was dating prior to. Like, the people she was dating prior to are okay with.
Soft.
Yeah, there's no way that I would be sitting on the couch playing a fucking video game while my woman is outside mowing the lawn.
That's crazy.
Like, what the fuck? Like, and so, she is... Got to give it to her because she's not used to being with a very strong-willed and man, and I wasn't used to being with a very strong. So we butt heads quite a bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
But we have been able to. She is, and with my daughter, I'd probably say the most beneficial thing that I have gotten from our relationship. And there's many multi-levels, facets to this. The benefits of our relationship, but man, she has made me become a father that I could have never imagined being, strong, loving, and caring, and then sympathetic. And
that's the problem. That's one we probably sucked at.
Yeah, it's
like suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, and you can't do that with a little girl,
push
man.
Push the brakes, dude.
And so she like the way, and not just being there for somebody, but how do you make that person feel while you're there? Like making sure that person knows that. You got their back no matter what. And tone is everything, man. It's not about what you say it, but it's about how you say it.
Yeah, girls are going to let you know that.
Coming out of a place of love, for sure.
Yeah.
They help. I mean, that's what they do. That's why, some people think it's like fucked up, like a man should play his part or a woman should play her part, but both of those parts are very fucking equal.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the woman has the love and the empathy and, you know, the support that a man does not just have in him.
I don't have that.
And, and so
baseline
but,
angry.
But that's not any less valuable than what the man presents. They're both equal and they're both necessary to manifest a loving and nurturing and growing environment, especially when it comes to children, you know, and they're both needed because, you know, if you just have one, for example, like a hard-nosed father, you're going to grow up and you're going to approach life with that, but without any empathy.
Yeah, you'll be hollow.
Yeah.
Hollow.
And,
There's no heart in it.
He's got a lot of grind, but man, he doesn't give a shit about people.
Yeah, I think about it like an atom, you know, like the masculinity or being a man. You're like the electron. You know, you cover a lot of distance. You're on the outside. You're doing all the things.
Yeah.
But what are you revolving around? You know, there has to be something in the center of that.
The nucleus.
Yeah, an electron without that is it's a free radical. That's very dangerous to the world.
Cancer causing.
Right, very, very bad. Free radicals, man. Now the core of it though is like the feminine. Like that's the woman. Like
that's what holds everything together.
It makes it worth it. Like that's what we revolve around, right?
Yeah,
for sure. Because otherwise, like, I mean, when you look at like the average guy's apartment, like without a girl there, bro, I got a mattress and the TV, and that's it.
It's just chaos. Just shit thrown together here, there. No feng shui.
Yeah, no, that's right. I got plants over here, just filling up all these.
Feeling great. It feels nice when a house becomes a home.
Yeah.
I told Nadia that. I said, you know, I had a good space, but this house was never a home until you came into it. And you know, that is such a beautiful thing. And then, you know, it's the feminine side of it, but it's the glue. It's the glue, and it's the necessary foundation that holds this, because so that very energetic outside movement, you know, it's great, but you can't keep that up forever without having that glue, you know, and then also that gives you purpose too. Mm-hmm. You can be chaotic in all other directions and not get shit done.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that. Did a lot of stuff.
Sure.
Now, did you ever have is this like your first serious relationship?
Yeah, I would say so. This is the first relationship that I fully chose. Mm-hmm. You know, was like, hey, and you know, Nadia was actually in a relationship with this guy. I trained Nadia for 5 years before we ever dated. And, you know, I saw her in this relationship with this guy. I was currently in a relationship. We never crossed any lines within that. I end up getting out of my relationship. She's on the outskirts of hers, and just seeing somebody settle for something that, you know, they deserve so much better. Like it hurt me inside. I was like, why?
I'm gonna go take this guy's shit.
Fuck that. Like, I mean,
put on your Attila the Hun hat. Yeah, your stuff is my stuff.
And man,
if you can uphold a better standard, man.
I was like, fuck it. I mean, you don't deserve her. You don't deserve her. You need to get your shit together and get yourself together.
That's a queen right there, bro.
I mean, bro, you don't deserve her, this person. I'm gonna show her what she's been missing and needing, and I'm gonna be that force. And bro, like, I've never pursued, like, I always had people pursue me.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's what I was saying. I never really made a conscious decision when it came to a relationship, because I had so many people pursuing me. I didn't have to put any effort forth.
Personal trainers, man.
And even beyond, like, in high school, it just, I don't know, it's something. But I just never really had to put much effort forth when it came to women. And this was the first person that I ever was like, I'm going to be there for this person.
Do or die, baby.
This is like, I was all about it. And one day I was training her, and I was training her, and I said to her, I was like, I'm gonna get you nice and sore so you think about me over the weekend.
Damn.
She said, this is what set it off. She said, oh, you don't have to do that.
Damn.
You know? And at that moment there, bro, I was all gas, no brakes. I am vision in. She let me know. I was like, fuck that dude. He's a piece of shit. He needs to get his life together.
He went 0 to 10.
I was all gas, bro. There was no stopping me.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I told him I really didn't give a shit. Like,
yeah.
I knew what I was going to pursue, and I felt good doing it.
As you should.
I mean, this person deserved much more than she was settling for.
Yeah. You know, a maiden to be rescued, bro. That's an archetype.
Yeah, and she kind of fought it too, because, I mean, it was a little bit I'm a little bit much too, you know, like
high energy for sure.
Yeah, and then going from somebody
Big personality.
And
to go from a soft man to a hard man, that's a difference.
A big jump.
Yeah, like I feel the same. I'm big energy, dude. Yeah. And like when I walk, when you walk into the whole, people are about to look at you. Yeah. And if you're anxious by nature, and now you're standing next to this motherfucking dude who's everybody's looking at, jumping off cliffs and shit. Yeah. Now you just make you feel more spotlighted. Mm-hmm. That can also be curative though, because now you're spotlighted in a good way instead of being spotlighted in a bad way. You know.
But yeah, that was the first serious relationship and the first conscious decision that I ever made, and it's gonna be the last.
I like that.
She's gonna be. I only needed it, you know. So I dated a lot of people, but you know, I felt like being a late bloomer. I mean, you kind of learn what you don't want, and you learn what you need, and you learn what you. Even bad relationships can be beneficial because you're like, hey, I'm never doing that shit again. You know?
Yeah.
So even shitty experiences, you learn from the things that you don't want. And so those are just as valuable as knowing what you do want. You can find out like, hey, I will never settle for this shit again, you know? And that was a pivotal moment, you know? And then having a point, like her mom actually was the one that really put a little fire under my ass to propose to her. Her mom came by and they were walking the dogs around the block, and she said to Nadia, she was like, you know, she's like, you can move back in with me anytime you need to. And she was like, basically hinting at like, he going to propose to you?
Dang.
And cause she's super religious.
Yeah. That's happened.
Super religious and very, very great woman.
Old school.
Yes. And just, you know, she was like, yeah, cause that commitment, you know, that commitment is there. You know, when you're in just a dating relationship, you can easily like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
But whenever you make that full commitment, you can't just say I'm done. You're going to have to work through some things. Mm-hmm. That commitment is deeper. That commitment is it's scary too when you never had something like that. But it's been a new experience in my life, and it's been a beautiful one.
Same. I've only known chaos.
Yeah.
You know, I've only known superficial relationships and chaos. Mm-hmm. I had a couple of great bros here and there. And some you know, good girls in my life, but never anything like long lasting that I'm going to commit everything to. Yeah. And then I had to look myself in the mirror because we've been dating for like probably 2 years or something like that, and I had every reason to propose, and I didn't do it. And then it occurred to me, oh, Benjamin, you're not the kind of guy that makes long term commitments. This has nothing to do with her. This has everything to do with the fact that you're soft. And then, like, this is part of, like, you know, waking up, you know, this is part of me being like, oh shit. Talking about realizations, you know, it was one of those moments. Aha moments. And the other one was, when I was really thinking about doing it is, I'm real big in like etymology and like looking at people's names and what they mean. And I looked up Ivy's name, and Ivy means God's gift.
Ooh,
deep. Right. And I sat there and like, I thought about that. Because I was in like a real, like, this is a big transition point. Like, this is get in the boat or get out of the boat, you know? And so I read that and I started like thinking about, like, this woman has only been a gift in my life. You know, because we have this weird tendency where we tend to pick out the bad parts of our partner. You know, you don't see the 80% of good things they do. You kind of focus on the 20% of bad. Yeah. And I'm that way too. I can be nitpicky. I can be, you know, sort of anxious by nature. The history of trauma is I'm looking for problems a lot, you know? Yeah. And I couldn't find any. You know, I couldn't find any. And I just look at all the gifts that she brought to my life. And it was at that moment I was like, yo, what are you thinking? Why wouldn't you make this? Yeah. Like, you're stupid. You stupid. Right. Yeah. I was like, you're stupid if you don't. Right. And other people had told me that, but it didn't make that sense until I really looked at it. And then it's like, okay, well, I have to become the man who is capable of making long-term commitments. And then I've never done that because, you know, a history of just being chaotic and traumatic, and like, you're always bounced. I lived 13 places in 13 years. I'm freaking 4 different schools, and you move across the country and back. Like, just not used to building something like that.
So with that being said, you're not used to having people in your life like that. That's especially outside of the family.
I've never seen a healthy relationship.
Yeah,
I have never seen one. Every long-lasting relationship or marriage I did see, they were bickering at each other or distant or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So like that. And that kind of like me and you is like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it well, right? If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it well. how can I keep this? How can we build adventure into this situation? And how can we have like a good, and trying to balance finances is always a thing for a guy in the modern America, bro. It's like, God, the worst stressor is just the money, man.
Money is always a stressor.
I know. I had to let that go too.
Even if you got it, you're still like, you find ways to stress about it.
Right. Because we both are, but this is the most successful ever been, bro.
Most successful you've ever been, but you still stress about money the same way you did 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. It's just, it's just, I think, just in us.
Yeah.
Trained in us, And
scarcity mindset, bro.
Yeah.
Scarcity mindset of like, it could always go down or be bad.
When is the shit going to hit the fan?
Right. So there's the other funny part is like, Ivy, her tropical people, Vietnamese people are tropical. Mm-hmm. So like the pains that white people had of like having like fine food and like plan for the winter doesn't happen over there.
Yeah. So they don't have that.
Coconuts falling off the trees.
How are we going to survive the winter?
Coconuts, like literal fruits just growing all around you, and like fish as much as you want. Like everything is super.
No seasonal.
Right. So like literally the psychology was different. So when we first started dating, I couldn't wrap my brain around her brain. I was like, yo, do you not like stress about things? She's like, no, it'll just kind of like show up. I'm like, what do you mean it's going to show up? What do you mean?
I need some logic behind that.
And I'll be damned every time.
Showed up.
Every time it showed in surplus, dude, in surplus. So I was like, shit, dude, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, it's a great one to join.
Yeah, not my Nook mommy, right? That's good stuff. Yeah, so I, certainly like the call it the holy matrimonies. I've been reading a lot about marriage and relationships now because I really didn't. That's not a topic I ever dove into.
Well, because the topics you were diving into were things you were dealing with your own personal family. Like when you told me you were saying, hey, I wanted to get in psychology so I could help my family. I could help my brother. I could help the people around me, right? Yeah. And so now your environment has changed and your environment is more around a relationship that you have curated. And you're like, well, how can I feed this?
Yo, in that book, I'm about to give you, man, be an actor, not a reactor.
Boom.
Yeah. So proactivity instead of reactivity. Because if I'm reactive in my relationship, I'm going to be bailing water out of it.
Yeah. Well, when you're reactive, there's no thought.
Man.
Reactions are what? Without thought.
Yeah. Your unconscious is driving those decisions, and you can't trust that mofo.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Especially whenever you're reactive.
Old Benjamin.
Yeah. I was very reactive in my life. And there was a time where being reactive served my life.
Yeah, no, there's a place for it, yeah.
But in my life now, being the reactive way, like reactive with my daughter, reactive with my lady, my partner, it's just not, it doesn't serve,
Yeah.
Because if you're reacting, you are not thinking about what is coming out of your mouth or the actions that you are doing and the repercussions behind that.
Yeah.
And you can be reactive, and a lot of that shit you can apologize for, but it's always there. It's never going to be something that you can take away from, so.
It flipped me, and how can I build culture? Like, how do I build, so like your father's inheritance isn't like the money. Like I always thought about, it's actually the wisdom that he gives you on how to live.
Yeah.
So that flipped in my mind. I was like, oh, well, my father probably, isn't going to leave me money. And I wouldn't really want it anyway.
Yeah.
But my father's inheritance was his wisdom. Like, how do you raise 8 kids, dude? How do you come off a reservation? How do you grow up without a dad and do this shit? Like, that's wisdom.
Yeah.
So taking that and then being able to deliver that, because there was good stuff, but there's also bad stuff too. Like, be a little
gotta have both.
Extra hard headed. But you have to be in that situation. So now, how can I create the culture in my relationship that is going to bring me the best results for the absolute rest of my life? And to stay, and like, it's kind of like being in shape, with your romance, man, is the best way to like keep it is just to never lose it.
It's easier to maintain than it is to change.
It's a lifestyle.
Sure.
It's a lifestyle, dog. I saw Ray Lewis the other day. One of my favorite linebackers of all time.
Yeah.
Coming from the U, baby.
Yeah.
The guy's mean. That was my inspiration in high school.
He was a go-getter,
and
headhunter.
And he still is.
Yeah.
He's doing speeches, man. He's preaching the word. He's helping the kids. He's doing it all, and he's still super jacked. And he said it. He goes, people, other linebackers or people that got out, like, they're all like fat and out of shape now. And they're like, Ray, how do you do it? He goes, man, this is a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle. I live this way. It is a lifestyle. It's had nothing to do with football. This is a life.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what
the success key.
That's my approach, bro.
Yeah.
Like brain health, lifestyle, and performance.
That shit.
Yeah, it is who I am. This is what we're doing.
Then when you embody something and you identify by it, everything else will fall into place. If you identify as a person who takes care of their body, they watch the foods that they put into their body, and they're spiritually connected. You embody that. That is who you are, and then that will translate into your life. But you gotta,
and you'll never lose it. You'll never lose it. Like this is me.
This is your identity.
Like you're talking about taking my arm. Yeah. Like if you say you're going to take fitness away from me, you're talking about taking me away from me. You can't do that. This is who I am.
That's
this is what I
work.
do. And same thing for being like a good partner. Like this is something I have to construct. I have to put this together because life is only going to get busier. It's only going to become more financially depend issues, and then also more kids are going to come in and then marry. Like there's so much shit going on.
So many levels.
How do I sit down and I'm going to truly think this out? Make sure I don't lose the flame, that I don't lose my passion, that I don't lose my wits. Men, they're living in a reactive way in their relationships and in their life, and then they're suffering because of that, because they didn't sit down, shut the fuck up, and think about what does my life look like in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? How can because I want mine to get steady better, not steady worse.
Yeah.
You ever been on that path of steady worse, bro?
Oh, yeah.
That
absolutely.
Underlying sensation is like,
I call it a downward spiral.
Uh-oh, bro. Uh-oh.
Or an upward spiral. You can have both. You can upward spiral, or you can downward spiral.
Well, I see dudes, I'm sure you do too. Dudes in their 30s, mid-30s, bro, their lives, they look like they're getting grayer, paler, tireder, and worse. Like, I don't believe in that. They're like, oh, I'm getting old. This is the way it is. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Doesn't have
Your
to be
life
like
should be
that.
getting steady better. That means that you're not doing it right. And I took this to heart because I saw a bunch of the older doctors when I was young, and I was like, these people look terrible.
Hell yeah.
You see an old cardiologist looking like bags, bro, looking like bags. And like these guys, like in his mid 30s or 40s, looks like shit. And like
Medical school.
I was like, you're supposed to be the pinnacle of health and wellness. You look like trash. Yeah. And then I made a promise to myself that I'm never going to be some old baggy doctor.
That won't be me.
Yeah, because it's a bad look, bro. No. It's a super bad look.
It's kind of like trying to take fitness advice or training advice from somebody that's fat and out of shape.
No. It's hard to do.
Yeah, but you hear them saying what they need to say, but like, why aren't you doing it?
If it was that good,
This is such good advice. Why aren't you doing this thing?
Exactly. Exactly.
Actually, can we pause this for a second?
No, you're all cool. We can.
I fucking didn't realize it was 1 o'clock already.
And we're closing out, man. Great conversation.
Man, that was beautiful. I appreciate you, bro.
I love the abrupt stop. It's like, yeah, we cool. All right, I got to go now. All right. Tell the people how they can find you, though, Zach. Personal training, all that kind of stuff.
Man, you guys can check me out. My handle is fityes_fitness. That's
Instagram.
FITYES_fitness. My website's www.fityesfitness.com. You guys give it a follow if you're looking for any fitness, nutrition tips.
That's Instagram, right?
Yes, that's Instagram. Hold on. And, where's it going?
Yeah, just closing out, man.
I appreciate the time, man. I appreciate you letting me hop on here.
Okay, we closing it out, baby.
Man, that was a great.
You're going to see us out here, man. Long hair bros,
sir.
we're doing it. Thanks for listening, y'all.
Thank you, man.